Hi everyone, my name is Serena Holloway, I'm 28. And if you've ever sat at a family table knowing you were the afterthought, then you already know how silence can cut deeper than knives. Your brother deserves this spotlight, not you. Mom's voice cracked through the warmth of the Thanksgiving dining room like cold glass. She said it so casually, ladling gravy onto Liam's plate, as if humiliation were just another side dish to pass around. I tried to smile, but inside my chest something rattled. The table shimmered under the glow of chandelier light, crystal glasses catching gold, silver knives aligned like soldiers ready for command. Dad carved the turkey wordlessly, his lips pressed tight, unwilling to referee, unwilling to protect. My brother leaned back in his chair, wide grin flashing like he owned not only the food, but the air itself. You know, Serena, Mom added sweetly, some people are good with little things. Liam handles the real responsibilities. Their laughter bubbled, soft and sticky, wrapping him in approval while wrapping me in chains. But beneath my skin, my pulse thudded in rhythm with the clock over the fireplace. Steady. Relentless. Because only I knew the truth. Only I had the email still glowing in my pocket. Final wire confirmed. $15 million secured per your instructions. 15 million. My fortune, untouched, unseen, hidden behind a silence they'd mistaken for weakness. Liam smirked, tossing a spoonful of potatoes onto his plate, then shoved the dish toward me. After all, he said, loud enough to be crowned with chuckles, I'm the one this family depends on. Serena just floats. The room laughed again. My throat burned. I placed my phone, face down, beside the breadbasket. The glow of wealth, of freedom, pressed through the thin glass like fire threatening to escape. What's that smile for? Liam demanded suddenly, eyes narrowing, voice tightening with suspicion. The laughter stilled. Dad froze mid-carve. Mom blinked, waiting for my apology, the way she always did. But instead, I let my lips curve higher. Something you'll never see coming, I whispered. The chandelier light flickered as if it, too, held its breath. The silence after my words felt heavier than the turkey itself. Every set of eyes shifted toward me, some wide with confusion, others sharpened with judgment. Liam tilted forward in his chair, fork poised like a weapon, the smug curve of his mouth faltering. What's that supposed to mean? He asked, voice teetering between mockery and fear. I didn't answer right away. I wanted him to stew in it, to feel the weight of not knowing. For once, he was the one left outside the circle of certainty. I traced the rim of my water glass with a fingertip, watching the condensation bead like tiny pearls. The chandelier hummed above, casting a trembling halo across the polished table. Mom leaned in, her eyes sharp. Serena, don't start with your dramatics. You always do this. Liam has worked hard, he deserves peace tonight. Peace. The word made me laugh, quiet and bitter. They never protected my peace. They never asked what I deserved. Worked hard. I repeated. My voice was calm, too calm. He's been carried his whole life. Carried by Dad's silence, by Mom's excuses, by the rest of you pretending not to notice. A hush spread like spilled wine. My uncle coughed. My aunt shifted in her chair, her fork clinking against porcelain. The children, seated at the far end, froze mid-bite. Liam slammed his fork down. You're jealous. That's all this is. Some pathetic attempt to grab attention because you've got nothing real going on. Admit it. The words didn't sting. Not anymore. I had built armor from years of these jabs, every insult layered until nothing could pierce me. I picked up my phone slowly, deliberately, and tapped the screen awake. The email glowed, clean and undeniable. I turned it toward him. The room bent closer. Numbers lined the screen like soldiers marching in perfect rows. $15 million confirmed, diversified, untouchable. His face drained. The arrogance evaporated, replaced by something raw, something jagged. No. That's not yours. You're lying. Dad's knife clattered onto the carving board. For the first time in my life, his eyes locked on me, not with indifference, but with stunned recognition. The fire cracked in the hearth, a single ember snapping like punctuation to the moment. I smiled, a small, steady curve. Jealousy doesn't live here anymore. Ownership does. The air quivered. Liam's hand shook as he pointed at me, his voice cracking under the weight of his meltdown about to come. And Mom finally lost her practiced calm, her spoon slipping into the gravy like it had heard the truth before anyone dared to speak it. Liam shot up from his chair so fast the wine glass toppled, red spilling across the lace runner like blood on snow. His chest heaved, fists clenched at his sides, and for the first time I saw him stripped of his polished charm. 15 million, he barked, voice cracking like a teenage tantrum. Where did you even get that? You can't have more than me. You're nothing. The children gasped. My cousin pulled them closer, whispering, "Don't look." But how could they not? The man who'd been crowned golden boy all his life was unraveling in front of them, his throne collapsing in real time. Mom pushed back her chair, face pale. "Serena, what nonsense is this? You're upsetting your brother. You should apologize." "Apologize?" I repeated, my tone razor thin. For working in silence? For building what no one thought I could? For not needing this family's approval to exist? Dad's voice finally broke through, low and shaky. "Sit down, Liam." But Liam didn't. He pounded his fist on the table so hard the silverware leapt. "You think you're better than me now? You think money makes you important?" His eyes glistened with something wild, not just anger but fear of losing the pedestal he'd been propped on his whole life. I met his rage with stillness. "No," I said softly. "Money doesn't make me important. But it makes me free. Free from needing you. Free from begging for scraps at this table." The words silenced the room. The fire hissed, a log collapsing into ash. Even the chandelier seemed to dim, shadows bending closer around us. Mom pressed her hand to her chest. "Serena, you're tearing this family apart." I shook my head, calm but unflinching. "I didn't tear it apart. I just stopped letting you pretend it wasn't broken." Liam's breathing grew louder, ragged, unsteady. He gripped the back of his chair, knuckles whitening, as if holding onto the last thread of control. And in that fragile silence, between his shaking fury and my unshaken calm, I realized the storm wasn't coming. It had already begun. Liam's chair screeched against the hardwood as he shoved it backward, the sound tearing through the room like metal against stone. He stood over me now, jaw tight, face flushed, eyes burning with the disbelief of a man watching his kingdom crumble. "You stole this," he spat, pointing at my phone as though it were contraband. "There's no way. You're a fraud, you've always been a fraud." His voice cracked again, and that was the moment I realized something none of them had ever admitted. My brother was terrified of me. Not because of who I'd been, but because of who I'd become. I leaned back in my chair, folding my hands in my lap with a composure I had spent years perfecting. "I didn't steal anything. I built it. Quietly. While you were too busy playing the hero in a story Mom kept writing for you." The table went still. Forks, glasses, even breaths froze. My aunt's hand trembled as she set her napkin down, eyes darting from Liam to me as though choosing sides in a war she hadn't expected to witness tonight. Dad's voice, firmer now, echoed through the silence. "Liam. Sit. Down." But he couldn't. He wouldn't. His pride wouldn't let him. He slammed both palms onto the table, rattling the crystal. The red wine spread further, staining the lace runner until it looked like a battlefield map. "You think you're smart," he hissed. "You think money makes you untouchable? Watch what happens when this family finds out what kind of snake you really are." I tilted my head, eyes steady. "Funny," I murmured, "because snakes shed their skin and grow. You just rot in the same one." The word struck harder than I'd expected. His mouth opened, then closed, a man undone by a sister he'd spent his life dismissing. Mom's face twisted, torn between protecting her son and controlling the chaos. "Serena, enough. You've embarrassed him long enough. You've embarrassed all of us." But the truth was already loose, weaving through the room like smoke no one could put back in the chimney. And as Liam's chest rose and fell in erratic waves, I saw it. The meltdown was no longer building. It was erupting. Liam's voice cracked into a scream. 15 million. His hands shook as he jabbed a finger toward me, his whole body trembling like glass about to shatter. "How dare you have that much and never say a word? I'm the one who deserves it, not you." The room had turned into a stage, every relative frozen in their seats. My cousin's fork hovered midair, The children clutched each other like shadows hiding from thunder. Even the fire seemed to hush, its crackle swallowed by the raw violence of Liam's voice. Dad tried again, firmer this time. "Sit down, Liam." But Liam was too far gone. His face was blotched red, spit flying as he raged. "You're worthless, Serena. Worthless. All these years, hiding in your pathetic little corner while I carried this family's name. And now you think you can humiliate me." I rose slowly, the legs of my chair whispering against the floor. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. You carried nothing. You only ever carried Mom's favor. The rest of us carried you. The air thickened. My words weren't a shout, they were a mirror, and he couldn't stand what he saw reflected back. Mom rushed to his side, clutching his arm like she could ground him. "Liam, please, don't let her provoke you. She doesn't understand how the world works. You've always been the strong one." The favoritism dripped so nakedly in her voice that even the relatives who had pretended blindness all these years shifted uncomfortably. I saw it in their eyes, the first cracks of doubt, the first seeds of truth taking root. Liam ripped his arm free from her grasp, pointing at me with a trembling hand. "You'll regret this. I swear, Serena, you'll regret the day you ever thought you were more than background noise." I held his stare, steady, unshaken. "The only regret I have," I said quietly, "is that it took me this long to stop listening to your noise." The chandelier above flickered, a tremor in the current, or maybe just the house itself quivering under the weight of everything finally coming undone. The room felt like it was holding its breath. Liam stood trembling, sweat dampening his collar, his eyes darting from me to the stunned faces around the table. He had always thrived on applause, on being the center of every toast, every proud nod. Now, with silence pressing in on him, his ego collapsed like glass beneath a hammer. He slammed his fist into the table again, rattling dishes and sending a spoon clattering to the floor. 15 million. It should have been mine. You stole my life, you stole what Mom and Dad owed me. His words cracked into the air like lightning, but instead of fear, a strange calm washed over me. I straightened my shoulders, my voice low, almost serene. "No one owed you anything, Liam. You've lived as if love and privilege were debts this family must pay you." I just stopped believing in that lie. Dad's eyes, glassy and shaken, finally turned fully to me. His lips parted as if to speak, but no words came. For once, he wasn't hiding behind silence. He was watching, really watching, as if realizing the balance of his family had been crooked all along. Mom pressed her napkin to her lips, her face ghost pale. "Serena, stop, you're breaking him." I let my gaze sweep across the table, at the cousins, the aunts, the children staring wide-eyed. He was already broken. "Mom, you just taught us all to pretend he wasn't." The truth cut deeper than any scream. I saw it in the way my uncle shifted uncomfortably, in how my aunt set down her fork with a trembling hand. For the first time, the room wasn't nodding along to Liam's script. They were questioning it. Liam's breath grew ragged, his chest heaving as though the air itself had turned against him. He gripped the edge of the table so hard his knuckles turned white. "I'll ruin you," he whispered hoarsely, the threat crumbling under his own desperation. "I'll tear that fortune from you if it's the last thing I do." I leaned forward, steady, unblinking. "You can't ruin someone who stopped playing your game." And in that instant, I knew, the crown he had worn his whole life had finally slipped, and he didn't know how to live without it. Liam's meltdown rippled through the room like a storm tide. His chair tipped backward, crashing against the hardwood as he lunged across the table. Plates shattered, gravy spilled, the chandelier above swayed as if even the house recoiled from him. "You don't deserve any of it," he screamed, his face inches from mine, his breath hot with rage. "I'm the one who should have been trusted with that kind of money." I didn't flinch. I didn't even blink. The years of being silenced, belittled, overlooked, they had hardened me into stone. His chaos couldn't penetrate what I had already built within myself. "You weren't trusted because you've never been trustworthy," I said, each word carved with precision. "And tonight, everyone finally sees it." Gasps fluttered across the room. My cousin whispered to her husband. An aunt shook her head slowly, her gaze no longer pitying me, but condemning him. The tide was shifting, and Liam felt it slipping through his hands like sand. Mom clutched his arm, her voice breaking. Liam, please, stop, please. But he jerked away, fury blinding him. Don't touch me. You should have backed me harder, Mom. You should have made sure this family gave me what was mine. Her lips quivered. For the first time, I saw shame in her eyes. The favoritism she had fed him all his life had turned into poison, and now it was spilling everywhere for the whole family to see. Dad stood, voice trembling but firm. Enough, Liam. The words carried weight this time. Years too late, but weight nonetheless. Liam froze, stunned that even Dad had shifted. His face twisted with disbelief, the crown of golden boy slipping completely. You're all traitors, he spat, his voice cracking into something almost childlike. Every one of you. I straightened, my voice soft but unyielding. Not traitors. Just done pretending. The room pulsed with silence, broken only by the tick of the mantel clock. For the first time, I felt every eye in the room not on Liam, but on me. And in that silence, I understood, Thanksgiving would never be the same again. The family's script had shattered. And I held the pen now. The air after his outburst was thick, suffocating. Liam stood trembling in the ruins of his own tantrum, shards of porcelain at his feet, gravy dripping off the lace runner, wine blooming dark across the carpet. His chest heaved, his eyes bloodshot, his body a shell of the untouchable brother they had worshipped for decades. He looked at me, but it wasn't hatred anymore. It was something rawer, more fragile. Fear. The kind of fear that comes when a mask has been ripped away in front of everyone. Dad finally stepped forward. He placed the carving knife down on the table, his voice low but carrying across every ear in that room. Sit down, Liam. Enough. And this time, Liam obeyed. Slowly, like a man walking to his own ending, he sank into his chair. His fists loosened. The fight drained from him, leaving only the weight of defeat. Mom's eyes brimmed, torn between the son she had coddled and the daughter she had ignored. She opened her mouth, closed it, and for once, she said nothing. Silence was her confession. I rose to my feet, steady, composed. The firelight flickered across my face, shadows painting me stronger than I had ever felt. I looked around the table, at every relative, at the children whose eyes would one day retell this night. I didn't ask for anyone's approval, I said, my voice calm but sharp. And I don't need anyone's permission. What I've built is mine, not stolen, not gifted, not favored. Mine. And I won't apologize for finally stepping out of the corner you shoved me into. The words lingered, echoing against the walls, searing into memory. I gathered my phone, slipped it into my pocket, and stepped away from the table. No one stopped me. No one dared. Behind me, Liam sat slumped, Mom's hand hovering uselessly above his shoulder. The golden boy had cracked, and no one could put him back together. Outside, the cold November air met me like a balm. The stars glittered sharp and clean, untouched by the chaos inside. I breathed deeply, free, and felt a weight leave me that I had carried for nearly 3 decades. Thanksgiving had ended, but something greater had begun.